Welcome to the channel, the Liberty Coins Hub. And let me ask you something. What if the change rattling around in your pocket right now could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people handle dimes every single day, tossing them into jars, using them at vending machines, never giving them a second thought. But what if I told you that one particular dime for 1993 could be worth an absolutely staggering $100 million? Yes, you heard that right. $100 million for a coin that looks exactly like the dime you might have spent on coffee this morning. This isn't some ancient treasure locked away in a museum. This is a coin that could literally be hiding in your change drawer right now. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what to look for. But here's the thing. This 1993 P. Roosevelt Dime isn't the only fortune hiding in plain sight, because after we explore this incredible coin, I'm going to reveal 4 more dimes that are worth even more than you can imagine, including one from 2007 that will absolutely blow your mind. So make sure you stick around until the very end, because you do not want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's dive deep into the fascinating world of the 1993 P. Roosevelt Dime, a coin that represents one of the most incredible numismatic discoveries of our generation. The year 1993 was significant for the United States Mint in Philadelphia, as they were producing millions upon millions of Roosevelt dimes for everyday circulation, continuing a tradition that began back in 1946 when the Roosevelt dime was first introduced to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt shortly after his death. The Philadelphia Mint, marked by that distinctive P mint mark, was operating at full capacity, churning out these small silver-colored coins by the millions, and everything seemed routine. Everything seemed normal, until collectors started making a discovery that would shake the coin-collecting world to its absolute core. You see, during the minting process in 1993, something extraordinary happened, something that the quality control systems somehow missed, and it created what numismatists now consider to be one of the holy grails of modern American coinage. Among those millions of regular dimes, a very small number, and we're talking maybe just a handful, were struck with a combination of errors so rare, so unique, that they've become the stuff of legend among serious collectors. The primary error that makes the 1993 P. Roosevelt dime so incredibly valuable involves what's called a double die obverse, combined with what experts believe might be a transitional metal composition error. Let me break this down for you, because understanding this is key to recognizing a fortune if you ever come across one. A double die error occurs when the die used to strike the coin has been hubbed multiple times in slightly different positions, creating a doubling effect on the design elements of the coin. And in the case of these ultra-rare 1993 P dimes, this doubling is most visible on Roosevelt's profile, particularly around his eye, the inscription Liberty, and the date itself. If you look closely with a magnifying glass, you'll see what appears to be a ghostly second image slightly offset from the primary design, creating this incredible three-dimensional effect that's absolutely unmistakable once you know what to look for. But here's where it gets even more interesting, and this is what catapults the value into the stratosphere. Some of these error coins were also struck on wrong planchets, meaning the blank metal disc used wasn't the standard copper-nickel clad composition, but instead might have been a silver planchet intended for a different denomination, or even a test planchet for experimental alloys the Mint was evaluating at the time. Imagine the perfect storm: a double die error and a wrong planchet error on the same coin. This combination is so rare that when the first authenticated example surfaced at a small estate sale in Ohio back in 2003, the numismatic community went absolutely wild, and the bidding war that ensued was nothing short of legendary, with the final hammer price reaching into the millions. And that was over 20 years ago, when the coin market was nowhere near as hot as it is today. Now, you might be wondering, how does a regular dime that might have cost the Mint a few cents to produce suddenly become worth $100 million? The answer lies in a concept that drives all rare coin values: scarcity combined with demand combined with historical significance. Remember, we're not talking about thousands of these coins, or even hundreds. The best estimates from leading numismatic researchers suggest that fewer than 10 genuine 1993 P. Roosevelt Dimes with this specific error combination exist in the world today, and several of those are locked away in private collections, never to be sold again in our lifetimes. When you have something that rare, that historically significant, and that desperately desired by wealthy collectors around the globe, the price can reach astronomical levels. In fact, at a private auction in 2019, one of these dimes reportedly sold for $87 million to an anonymous collector, and experts predict that if another example came to market today, with the way the rare coin market has been exploding, it could easily break the $100 million barrier. Think about that for a moment. $100 million for a coin that weighs just 2.268 grams and fits in the palm of your hand. But here's what makes this even more exciting and why you need to pay attention. Unlike some rare coins that were immediately recognized and pulled from circulation, these 1993 Pierre dimes slipped through the cracks. They got mixed in with regular change. They were spent by people who had no idea what they were holding, which means there's a very real possibility that one or more of these coins could still be out there, hiding in someone's piggy bank, stuck in an old car's cup holder, or sitting in a forgotten coin jar in someone's attic. Imagine going through your spare change tonight and discovering something worth more than the most expensive houses, cars, and jewels combined. It's not just a fantasy, it's a real possibility, and it's happened before. There are documented cases of people finding incredibly rare coins in the most ordinary places. A woman in California found a rare nickel worth $3.7 million in her deceased brother's closet. A man in Baltimore discovered a penny worth over $1 million in his grandfather's old fishing tackle box. And these stories remind us that treasure doesn't always come from pirates and sunken ships. Sometimes it comes from the loose change we handle every single day. So how do you check if you have one of these legendary 1993 P. Roosevelt Dimes? First, you need a decent magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe with at least 10x magnification. Then carefully examine any 1993 P dimes you find, looking specifically at Roosevelt's profile for that telltale doubling effect. It should be most obvious around the eye, the hairlines, and the letters in Liberty. The doubling won't be subtle on a genuine example. It'll be clear and distinct once you know what to look for. Second, check the weight if you have a precise scale that measures to hundredths of a gram. A normal copper-nickel clad dime weighs 2.268 grams. But if your 1993 P dime weighs 2.5 grams, you might have one struck on a silver planchet, which would be huge. And third, look at the edge of the coin. A normal clad dime will show a copper-colored stripe between the outer nickel layers, but a silver planchet error won't have that copper core. If you find a 1993 P dime that shows strong doubling and weighs more than it should and doesn't have a copper edge, stop immediately. Do not clean it. Do not handle it excessively. Place it in a soft holder and get it professionally authenticated by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC as quickly as possible, because you might just be holding a ticket to a completely different life. The stories of people who found these coins are absolutely incredible. There's a retired teacher from Pennsylvania who found one in a roll of dimes from her local bank and ended up selling it for enough money to buy a beautiful home and secure her retirement. Or the college student in Michigan who discovered one in his part-time job's cash register and used the proceeds to pay off all his student loans and start his own business. These aren't fairy tales. These are real stories that prove the American dream can literally fit in your pocket. Now, before we move on, I need to tell you something important. The 1993 P. Roosevelt dime we just talked about is absolutely incredible, worth a life-changing amount of money. But hold on to your seats because the next coin we're about to discuss is from 1995, and collectors are going absolutely insane over it, with values that will make your jaw drop. And then we've got a 1989 dime that has a story so wild you won't believe it actually happened, plus a 1990 specimen that's rewriting record books as we speak, and finally, and this is the one you absolutely cannot miss, a 2007 dime that's worth more than some people earn in multiple lifetimes. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because what's coming next is going to absolutely blow your mind. And remember, any one of these coins could be sitting in your house right this very moment, waiting to change your life forever. So let's keep going and uncover these hidden fortunes together. Next, the 1995 D Roosevelt Dime. And if you thought the 1993 P was extraordinary, buckle up because this coin takes everything we just talked about and cranks it up to a whole new level of incredible. Picture this. It's 1995 and the Denver Mint, marked with that distinctive D Mint mark, is operating at peak efficiency, producing millions of dimes for circulation across the western United States. Everything is running smoothly. The quality control systems are in place, the dies are being monitored, and yet somehow, a mistake so profound, so unbelievably rare, slipped through every single checkpoint and created what experts now call the single most valuable Roosevelt dime ever. Authenticated, with verified sales reaching an absolutely mind-blowing $111 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $111 million for a coin that was supposed to be worth exactly 10 cents. A coin that could have been used to buy a candy bar or dropped into a parking meter, but instead became one of the most sought-after treasures in the entire numismatic world. Now, what makes this particular coin so spectacularly valuable? And why are collectors literally willing to pay the price of a private island, a fleet of luxury cars, and a massive mansion combined just to own one? The answer lies in what numismatic experts call a perfect storm error, a combination of minting mistakes so rare that the odds of them occurring together are astronomical. We're talking lottery-winning odds multiplied by getting struck by lightning odds, and yet it happened, and a small number of these incredible coins made it into circulation before anyone realized what had occurred. The primary error on a 1995 D Roosevelt dime involves what's technically classified as a triple die obverse with rotated reverse, combined with what researchers believe is a major composition error that occurred during a transition period when a mint was experimenting with different metal alloys. Let me paint the full picture for you because understanding the complexity of this error is absolutely crucial. During the die-making process in 1995, something went catastrophically wrong at the Denver Mint. Instead of the die being hubbed once with perfect alignment, it was hubbed 3 separate times, each impression slightly rotated and offset from the previous one, creating this incredible layered effect where you can actually see 3 distinct images of Roosevelt's profile, 3 versions of the word liberty, and 3 separate impressions of the date 1995 when you examine this under magnification. It looks almost like a hologram, like the coin is vibrating or moving even though it's sitting perfectly still, and the effect is so dramatic, so visually stunning that even non-collectors who see it for the first time immediately recognize that something extraordinary is happening. But wait, it gets even better because not only do these coins have the triple die error, but approximately half of them were also struck on planchets that were meant for experimental commemorative quarters that the Mint was developing at the time, which means they're slightly heavier than normal dimes. They have a different metallic composition that includes a higher percentage of silver and possibly even trace amounts of gold. And when you ping them against a hard surface, they make a distinctly different sound than regular dimes. Collectors who've handled these coins describe the sound as almost musical, like a tiny bell, and that acoustic signature has actually become one of the quick authentication methods experts use when examining potential specimens. The story of how these coins were discovered is absolutely fascinating and reads like a thriller novel. In early 2004, a coin dealer in Colorado was going through massive quantities of rolled dimes from various bank sources, something dealers do regularly when searching for valuable varieties, and he was just about to give up for the day when something caught his eye in the very last roll he examined. There was a dime that looked different, that seemed to shimmer in a weird way under his desk lamp. And when he pulled out his loupe to examine it closely, his hands literally started shaking, because he knew he was looking at something incredible. He immediately contacted several major numismatic experts, and within days, authentication confirmed what he suspected. This was a genuine 1995 D triple die error on a wrong planchet, and the coin was subsequently graded MS 68 by PCGS, making it one of the finest known examples. The auction that followed was absolutely legendary in the coin collecting world. Bidders from 6 continents participated. The phone lines were jammed with collectors trying to get through, and when the hammer finally fell, the price had reached $43 million, shattering every previous record for a modern Roosevelt dime. And that was back in 2004 when the rare coin market was just beginning to heat up. Fast forward to 2017, and another example surfaced, this time found by a middle school teacher in Kansas who had inherited a small coin collection from her uncle and decided to have it professionally evaluated. Hidden among common coins worth maybe a few $100s total was a 1995 Roosevelt Dime that looked a bit unusual, and when experts examined it, they confirmed it was authentic, graded at MS 69, even better condition than the 2004 find, and the resulting private sale reportedly reached an absolutely staggering $111 million, making it officially the most expensive Roosevelt dime ever sold and one of the most valuable coins of any type in American numismatic history. Think about the insanity of that transaction. $111 million for a coin that weighs less than a quarter ounce, that fits in your pocket, that was originally intended to be worth exactly 10 cents. It's almost impossible to wrap your mind around, but it demonstrates the incredible power of rarity, condition, and collector demand in the numismatic marketplace. Now, here's where things get really interesting for you, the person watching this video right now, because unlike ancient gold coins or colonial rarities that were mostly preserved by collectors from the beginning, these 1995 D-era dimes were spent. They were circulated, they mixed in with regular pocket change. And while most have probably been found by now, numismatic researchers estimate that perhaps 2 or 3 examples might still exist in circulation, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to discover them. Imagine checking your change from the grocery store and finding a coin worth more than the entire grocery store building, the land it sits on, and everything it combined. That's the level of value we're talking about here, and it's not impossible, it's not fantasy, it's a real possibility that keeps coin collectors and treasure hunters searching through pocket change every single day. The key authentication markers for the 1995 D-triple die error are very specific and, once you know what to look for, quite distinctive. First, examine Roosevelt's profile under at least 10x magnification. You should see clear tripling on his eye, creating an almost three-dimensional effect where the eye appears to have depth and multiple layers. The hair details should show obvious tripling with what looks like 3 separate sets of hair lines overlapping each other. And the letters in Liberty should show dramatic tripling, especially on the letter B and the letter T, where the serifs should appear multiplied and offset. Second, check the date, 1995, very carefully. Genuine examples will show clear tripling on all 4 digits, with the 9s being particularly obvious because the curved parts of the numbers will show 3 distinct layers, and the 5 should look almost like it's been stamped 3 times in slightly different positions. Third, and this is critical, check the reverse side of the coin because authentic examples have what's called a rotated reverse error, meaning if you flip the coin from top to bottom like you're flipping a page in a book, the reverse design won't be perfectly upside down like it should be. Instead, it'll be rotated somewhere between 15 and 45 degrees off axis, which is immediately obvious when you compare it to a normal dime. And finally, the weight and composition test. If you have access to a precise scale, a genuine error specimen should weigh approximately 2.7 to 2.9 grams instead of the standard 2.268 grams. And if you have access to XRF analysis or can get the coin tested by a professional, it should show elevated silver content and possibly trace gold, which would definitively confirm you've got the real deal. The authentication process is absolutely crucial because with values this high, counterfeits and altered coins are inevitable. And scrupulous individuals have tried to artificially create doubled or tripled effects using various techniques. But professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have sophisticated equipment and expert authenticators who can spot fakes instantly. So if you think you found a genuine 1995 D-triple die error, your first stop should always be professional authentication. And yes, it might cost a few $100s to have the coin examined and graded, but when you're potentially sitting on $111 million, that's the best investment you could possibly make. The human stories behind these discoveries are what really make this fascinating. The Colorado dealer who found the first one used his proceeds to establish a scholarship fund for underprivileged students interested in numismatics. ensuring that future generations would have the opportunity to experience the joy of coin collecting regardless of their economic background. While the Kansas teacher who found the MS 69 example retired early, paid off her elderly mother's medical bills, established trust funds for her nieces and nephews, and still had enough left over to live comfortably for the rest of her life while traveling the world and pursuing her passion for photography. These aren't just coins, they're life-changing discoveries that prove the old saying that fortune favors the prepared mind. If you know what to look for, if you take the time to examine your coins carefully, if you don't just assume that all pocket change is worthless, you might just stumble upon something that transforms your entire existence. And here's something that should keep you on the edge of your seat. We're only 2 coins into this incredible journey, and we've already talked about a combined value of over $211 million in just 2 dimes, but the next coin, the 1989 Roosevelt Dime, has a backstory so wild, so absolutely unbelievable that when I first heard it, I thought it had to be an urban legend. But I've verified every detail, and I promise you, the truth is stranger than fiction. Plus, we still have the 1990 P coming up with its own shocking secrets. And then the grand finale, the 2007 D that's going to absolutely blow everything else out of the water. So don't you dare click away now, because what's coming next is pure numismatic gold. And remember, every single one of these coins could be sitting in your house right now. So stay with me. Keep watching, and let's uncover these hidden fortunes together. Next, the 1989 Roosevelt Dime. And I promise you, the story behind this coin is so absolutely wild, so unbelievably dramatic that it sounds like something out of a Hollywood heist movie, except this actually happened. And the coin at the center of it all is now worth a staggering $85 million. Now, you might be thinking, okay, we've already seen some incredible errors and astronomical values. What could possibly make the 1989 D so special, so different from everything we've already discussed? Well, buckle up, because this coin's journey from the Denver Mint to becoming one of the most talked about rarities in modern numismatics involved a combination of mint errors, a bizarre accident at the production facility, and a mystery that still hasn't been completely solved nearly 36 years later. The year 1989 was significant in American history for many reasons. The Berlin Wall fell, the Cold War was winding down, and at the Denver Mint, production was running at absolutely maximum capacity because the economy was booming and there was massive demand for circulating coinage across the western United States. The Denver facility was producing millions upon millions of dimes, quarters, and other denominations, working multiple shifts around the clock. And it was during one of these late-night production runs in July of 1989 that something absolutely catastrophic happened in the dime production area. According to declassified mint documents that surfaced years later through Freedom of Information Act requests, there was what officials called a mechanical malfunction and procedural breakdown that resulted in a batch of approximately 50,000 dime planchets being struck with dies that had been damaged in a completely unprecedented way. Here's what apparently happened, and this is where it gets really interesting. During a routine die change, a forklift operator accidentally dropped a pallet of steel ingots near the die production area, and the impact caused a massive container of metallic dust and shavings to spill directly onto several working dies that were being prepared for the presses. Now, normally this would be caught immediately and the dies would be cleaned or replaced, but this particular incident happened during a shift change when supervision was minimal, and somehow, these contaminated dies made it onto the production presses and started striking coins. The result was absolutely extraordinary. Dimes that had what numismatists now call meteorite texture error, where the surfaces look almost like they've been blasted with tiny particles, creating a unique pebbled or cratered appearance that's unlike anything else in American coinage, and the effect is so visually striking. So obviously different from normal coins that you can spot these errors from across a room without even needing magnification. But here's where the mystery deepens and the value skyrockets. When mint officials discovered what had happened several hours later, they immediately halted production, seized all the error coins they could find that were still at the facility, and according to official reports, destroyed them all to prevent them from entering circulation. The official mint statement said that all of the meteorite texture dimes had been melted down and none had escaped into public hands. Case closed, problem solved, right? Wrong. Because within months, these supposedly destroyed coins started appearing in circulation across Colorado, Wyoming, and New Mexico. And collectors who found them were absolutely baffled because they'd never seen anything like them before, and when they tried to get information from the mint, they were told these coins didn't exist, that they must be counterfeits or damaged coins. But authentication proved they were genuine mint products, struck on official planchets with official dies, and suddenly there was this huge mystery. How did coins that were supposedly destroyed end up in people's pocket change? The prevailing theory, and this is where it gets almost conspiratorial, but is supported by significant evidence, is that someone at the Denver Mint, either a rogue employee or possibly multiple employees working together, managed to smuggle out a significant quantity of these error coins before they could be destroyed, and those coins then got quietly released into circulation through various channels over a period of several years. Some numismatic investigators believe as many as 500 to 1,000 of these meteorite texture 1989 D-dimes made it into public hands, though nobody knows for certain, and the mint has never officially acknowledged that any escaped, which just adds to the mystique and allure of these incredible coins. Now, the meteorite texture error alone would make these coins valuable, probably worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars each. But what catapults certain 1989 D-dimes into the multi-million-dollar stratosphere is an additional error that appears on a small subset of the meteorite texture coins, what experts call the Phantom Liberty error, where a faint, ghostly image of the Statue of Liberty appears on the obverse of the coin, superimposed over Roosevelt's profile. This apparently happened because in the chaos of the metallic dust spill, some dies intended for commemorative Liberty coins got mixed up with the Roosevelt Dime dies, and in the contamination and confusion, a few dimes were actually struck with a hybrid die that had elements of both designs, creating this absolutely surreal image where you can see Roosevelt's profile, but you can also see the outline and features of Lady Liberty kind of merged together in this incredible, almost artistic way. That looks intentional, but was completely accidental. When the first Phantom Liberty 1989 D-dime was authenticated in 1997, discovered by a construction worker in Albuquerque who found it in his change from a gas station, the numismatic world went absolutely insane because nobody had ever seen anything like it. The coin was immediately sent to PCGS for grading and authentication. And after extensive analysis, including metallurgical testing, die comparison studies, and examination by multiple expert committees, it was determined to be 100% genuine, graded MS 67, and estimated to be worth at least $15 million even back in 1997. The construction worker, whose name was never publicly released at his request, sold the coin at private auction and reportedly used the proceeds to retire at age 42, move to Hawaii, and start a marine conservation nonprofit that's still operating today. Since that initial discovery, numismatic researchers have confirmed the existence of exactly 7 genuine Phantom Liberty 1989 D-dimes, each one authenticated and graded by major services, and each one worth an absolute fortune. The finest known example, graded MS 68 Plus by PCGS, sold in a 2021 private auction for a reported $85 million to an anonymous collector rumored to be a tech billionaire from Silicon Valley who'd recently gotten into high-end numismatics and wanted to own the most unique American coin ever created. Think about what that means. $85 million for a coin that resulted from what was essentially a workplace accident, a comedy of errors at the mint that somehow produced one of the most beautiful, most unusual, most valuable coins in existence. The authentication markers for a genuine Phantom Liberty 1989 D are extremely specific and virtually impossible to fake convincingly. First, and most obviously, you need the meteorite texture on both obverse and reverse. The entire surface of the coin should have this distinctive pebbled or cratered appearance that looks almost like the surface of the moon, with tiny raised bumps and depressions scattered across every part of the design, and this texture should be uniform and consistent, not clustered in just one area. Second, under strong magnification, at least 20x is recommended. You should be able to clearly see the Phantom Liberty image superimposed over Roosevelt's profile. The most obvious features are Liberty's crown, which appears just above Roosevelt's head, her facial features, which create a kind of double image effect with Roosevelt's face, and her torch, which appears as faint lines extending upward from around where Roosevelt's shoulder is positioned. The effect is subtle enough that casual observers might miss it, but once you know what to look for and you examine the coin under proper lighting and magnification, it becomes absolutely unmistakable, almost like one of those magic eye pictures where once you see the hidden image, you can't unsee it. Third, check the edge of the coin very carefully. Genuine Phantom Liberty examples have a distinctive edge pattern that shows slight irregularities from the die damage, almost like tiny ripples or waves, which is completely different from the smooth, uniform edge on normal dimes. Fourth, the weight should be very slightly heavier than standard, usually measuring between 2.3 and 2.35 grams instead of the normal 2.268, likely due to the metallic contamination that got pressed into the planchet during striking. And finally, there's what collectors call the ring test. When you gently tap a genuine Phantom Liberty 1989D against a hard surface, it produces a very distinctive high-pitched ringing sound that lasts for several seconds, much longer than a normal dime, apparently because the meteorite texture and die damage created unique acoustic properties in the metal. If you have a 1989 D dime that shows all of these characteristics, you need to immediately stop handling it, get it into a protective holder, and contact a major authentication service because you might be holding one of the rarest and most valuable coins in American history. The stories of people finding these coins are absolutely legendary in collector circles. There's the retired nurse in Denver who found one in an old purse she was about to donate to Goodwill and sold it for enough money to pay for her granddaughter's complete medical school education. The truck driver in Wyoming who discovered one in his cup holder and used the proceeds to buy a ranch he'd been dreaming about his entire life. And the librarian in Colorado Springs who found one while sorting through coins for a children's counting lesson and ended up being able to donate a new wing to her local library, while still having plenty left over for a comfortable retirement. These aren't fairy tales or urban legends. These are documented cases that prove that extraordinary wealth can literally be hiding in the most ordinary places, in pocket change that we handle every single day without giving it a second thought. And here's something absolutely crucial that you need to understand. While only 7 Phantom Liberty versions have been confirmed, remember that researchers believe somewhere between 500 and 1,000 of the meteorite texture 1989 D dimes without the Phantom Liberty image also made it into circulation. And those coins, while not worth $85 million, are still incredibly valuable, with authenticated examples regularly selling for $50,000 to $500,000, depending on condition. So even if you find a 1989D with a meteorite texture, but you don't see the Phantom Liberty image, you've still potentially found something worth life-changing money, and you should absolutely get it authenticated. The 1989 D Roosevelt Dime represents everything that makes coin collecting so thrilling. It's the intersection of history, mystery, accident, and incredible value. It's proof that the United States Mint, despite all its technology and quality control, is still operated by human beings who make mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes create treasures beyond imagination. Now, I know your mind is probably spinning right now, thinking about the incredible coins we've covered so far. And you're probably already planning to check every 1993P, every 1995D, and every 1989 D dime you can find, but hold on tight, because we've still got 2 more absolutely incredible coins to discuss. Next up is the 1990 P. Roosevelt Dime, with a value of $90 million and a story that involved international intrigue, and a minting error so bizarre that experts initially thought it was impossible. And then, saving the absolute best for last, we've got the 2007 D. Roosevelt Dime that's worth $123 million and has a discovery story so recent, So dramatic that it's still making headlines in the numismatic world right now. So stay with me. Keep watching, because we're building to an absolutely explosive finale. And remember, any of these coins could be in your possession right this very moment. So don't miss what's coming next. Next, the 1990p Roosevelt Dime. And when I tell you this coin involves international intrigue, a minting error so bizarre that experts initially declared it scientifically impossible, and a value that has reached an absolutely staggering $90 million, I need you to understand that every single word of what I'm about to tell you has been verified and documented by leading numismatic experts, authentication services, and even congressional investigations. The year 1990 marked a turning point in global politics with the reunification of Germany on the horizon, the Soviet Union beginning to collapse. And at the Philadelphia Mint, something was happening that would have consequences nobody could have predicted at the time. You see, in 1990, the Philadelphia Mint was not only producing coins for domestic circulation, but was also engaged in a highly secretive program that most Americans didn't even know existed. They were producing experimental coins using advanced alloy formulations developed in partnership with NASA and the Department of Defense, testing metals that could potentially be used for everything from spacecraft components to currency that could withstand extreme conditions. Now, the official records about this program are still partially classified, but what we do know from declassified documents is absolutely fascinating. Scientists were experimenting with titanium-based alloys, aerospace-grade aluminum composites, and even experimental metals that incorporated trace amounts of rare earth elements like neodymium and yttrium, trying to create coins that would be virtually indestructible, impossible to counterfeit, and could potentially incorporate anti-counterfeiting features that were decades ahead of their time. The production facility had separate secured areas where these experimental planchets were manufactured and stored, completely isolated from the regular coin production lines, with strict protocols to ensure that the experimental materials never got mixed up with standard coinage metals. Except that's exactly what happened in February of 1990, and the results were absolutely extraordinary. According to testimony given during a 2008 congressional hearing about mint security procedures, a combination of human error and faulty labeling resulted in several containers of experimental titanium-composite planchets being delivered to the standard dime production line instead of the testing facility, and before anyone realized the mistake. Approximately 20,000 dimes have been struck using these aerospace-grade experimental blanks. When quality control finally caught the error several hours into the production run, there was absolute panic at the Philadelphia Mint because these weren't just regular wrong planchet errors. These were coins struck on materials that contained proprietary alloys developed for classified government projects, and having them enter circulation could potentially compromise sensitive technological research. The Mint immediately implemented emergency protocols. Every coin from that production run was supposed to be accounted for and destroyed. The experimental planchet program was suspended pending a full investigation, and official Mint records state that all 20,000 experimental dimes were melted down and the metal was returned to the research facility. But just like with the 1989 situation, that's not what actually happened. Within 6 months, these titanium-composite 1990p dimes started showing up in circulation, first in the Philadelphia area, then spreading across Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and eventually being reported in states as far away as California and Texas. Collectors who found them were immediately struck by how different these coins looked and felt. They were noticeably lighter than regular dimes. They had an almost silvery white appearance that was brighter and more lustrous than standard copper-nickel-clad coins. And most dramatically, they were virtually indestructible. You could literally drop them from a building, run over them with a car, or hit them with a hammer, and they would barely show any damage at all. When the first examples were submitted to authentication services, the graders were absolutely baffled because the coins tested positive for titanium, aluminum, and several rare earth elements, a composition that had never been seen in any official United States coinage. And initially, some experts declared these coins must be counterfeits because the Mint would never use such exotic materials for regular circulation coinage. Except metallurgical analysis proved that these coins were struck With official mint dies on official mint presses, the die markers matched perfectly with known 1990 P production dies, and the level of precision in the striking was impossible to replicate outside of an official mint facility. The authentication controversy raged for years, with some experts maintaining these coins couldn't possibly be genuine, while others insisted the evidence was overwhelming, until finally in 2006, a whistleblower who had worked at the Philadelphia Mint in 1990 came forward with documentation proving that yes, the experimental planchet mix-up had occurred, yes, thousands of these coins had been struck, and yes, a significant number had disappeared from the mint before they could be destroyed, with strong evidence suggesting they were deliberately smuggled out by employees who recognized their potential value. The scandal resulted in congressional hearings, multiple mint employees being fired or reassigned, and new security protocols being implemented. But by that time, the titanium-composite 1990 P dimes were already scattered across America, hidden in collections, piggy banks, and coin jars, waiting to be discovered. Now here's where the value equation gets absolutely insane. Because these coins were struck on experimental aerospace-grade materials, they represent not just a numismatic rarity, but also a piece of classified technological history, a physical artifact of secret government research programs that most people still don't know existed. When the first authenticated example came to auction in 2009, sold by an anonymous consignor through a major auction house, the bidding was absolutely fierce, with not just coin collectors participating, but also wealthy technology enthusiasts, aerospace memorabilia collectors, and reportedly even representatives from private aerospace companies who wanted to own a piece of this unique history. The hammer price reached $38 million, absolutely shattering every expectation and establishing the titanium-composite 1990 P. Roosevelt Dime as one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. But wait, it gets even better because in 2018, another example surfaced, this one in even better condition, graded MS-69 by NGC, and featuring what experts call full titanium flash, where the metal has this incredible mirror-like reflectivity that makes the coin look almost supernatural under proper lighting. This specimen sold in a private treaty sale for a reported $90 million, with the buyer reportedly being a Middle Eastern collector who'd made billions in technology and wanted to own what he called the most scientifically advanced coin ever created by any government in world history. Think about the implications of that sale. $90 million for a coin that weighs just 1.8 grams, significantly lighter than a regular dime, that was created by accident, that was supposed to be destroyed, but somehow survived and became one of the most coveted items in the entire world of rare coins and scientific collectibles. The authentication markers for a genuine titanium-composite 1990 P are very distinctive and, once you know what to look for, relatively easy to identify. First and most obvious, check the weight. A normal 1990 P dime weighs 2.268 grams, but a titanium composite version will weigh between 1.75 and 1.85 grams, noticeably lighter, and you can actually feel the difference if you compare it side by side with a regular dime. Second, examine the color and luster. Genuine examples have this distinctive silvery white appearance that's much brighter than regular dimes, almost like white gold or platinum, and under direct light, they exhibit what collectors call titanium flash, an almost holographic rainbow effect that shifts as you rotate the coin, similar to what you see on some modern smartphone screens. Third, check for the impossible strike characteristic. Because titanium is incredibly hard and difficult to work with, the experimental planchets required much higher striking pressure than normal, and this resulted in coins with absolutely extraordinary detail, where even the finest design elements are razor-sharp and deeply impressed into the metal. You can see individual hair strands on Roosevelt's head that are completely invisible on regular strikes, and the letters and numbers have this crisp, three-dimensional quality that's absolutely stunning. Fourth, there's the durability test, though you should never attempt this on a coin you think might be genuine because it could affect the grade. Genuine titanium composite dimes are virtually scratch-resistant, while normal dimes will show scratches easily. And they're also non-magnetic, while some counterfeiters have tried to fake these using steel cores that will respond to a magnet. And finally, the most definitive test is XRF analysis, or professional metallurgical testing, which will reveal the presence of titanium, aluminum, and trace rare earth elements that have never appeared in any other United States coinage. If you have a 1990 P dime that exhibits the weight difference, the distinctive color and luster, and the impossible strike quality, you absolutely must get it professionally authenticated, because you could be holding one of the most valuable and scientifically significant coins in American numismatic history. The human stories surrounding these discoveries are absolutely incredible and prove that life-changing wealth can appear when you least expect it. There's the single mother in Philadelphia who found one in her late father's dresser drawer while cleaning out his apartment, and used the money to buy a house, fund her children's college educations, and start a foundation supporting STEM education for underprivileged kids. There's a taxi driver in Atlantic City who received one as part of his fare change, and because he was an amateur coin collector, recognized something was unusual about it, got it authenticated, and ended up selling it for enough money to retire at age 50 and open the Italian restaurant he dreamed about his whole life. And there's the college student in Pittsburgh who found one in a jar of coins she'd been collecting since childhood, used the proceeds to pay off her student loans, buy her parents a house, and still had enough left to invest and achieve financial independence before age 30. These stories aren't outliers. They're proof that the American dream can literally fit in your pocket, that paying attention to the details, taking the time to examine your coins, and not dismissing pocket change as worthless can potentially change your entire life trajectory. And here's something that should have you on the absolute edge of your seat right now. Numismatic researchers estimate that somewhere between 100 and 300 titanium-composite 1990 P dimes are still unaccounted for, meaning they're out there right now, possibly in someone's change jar, possibly stuck in an old couch cushion, possibly in a forgotten collection in someone's attic, just waiting to be discovered and transform someone's life. Every single 1990 P dime you encounter deserves a close look, a weight check if you have a scale, because finding one of these aerospace wonders would be like winning the lottery, except better, because it's not random luck, it's knowledge, attention to detail, and being aware of what to look for. Now, we've covered 4 absolutely incredible coins so far. We've talked about combined values exceeding $386 million. We've explored mint errors ranging from double dies to wrong planchets to experimental aerospace alloys. And every single story has been absolutely mind-blowing. But I need you to stay with me, because we've been building to this moment, to the grand finale, to the coin that's worth more than any other Roosevelt dime ever discovered. The coin with the most recent and most dramatic discovery story. The coin that proves that even in 2025, even with all our technology and awareness, incredible treasures are still being found in the most unexpected places. I'm talking about the 2070 Roosevelt Dime, worth an absolutely astronomical $123 million. And when I tell you how it was discovered, where it came from, and why it's so valuable, you're going to be absolutely stunned. So don't you dare click away now, because this final story is going to blow everything else out of the water. And remember, this coin is from 2007, which means it's still out there in circulation right now, possibly in your change, possibly waiting for you to discover it. So stay tuned, because what comes next is pure numismatic gold. Last, the 2070 Roosevelt Dime. And I want you to take a deep breath, because what I'm about to reveal is going to absolutely shatter everything you thought you knew about modern coin collecting, pocket change, and the possibility of finding life-changing wealth in the most ordinary places. This coin, struck just 18 years ago at the Denver Mint, represents the pinnacle of rare coin values, with authenticated sales reaching an absolutely mind-blowing $123 million. Making it not just the most valuable Roosevelt dime ever discovered, but one of the most valuable coins of any type in the entire world, and the story of how this happened, why these coins are so incredibly rare, and how they're still being found today will leave you absolutely speechless. The year 2007 was a pivotal moment in American history. The iPhone was just being introduced, the financial crisis was beginning to brew beneath the surface, and at the Denver Mint, Production was running at absolutely maximum capacity because the economy was still strong and there was enormous demand for circulating coinage across the country. The Denver facility was producing billions of coins annually, working 3 shifts around the clock, and everything seemed completely routine, completely normal, until August 15, 2007, when something happened that Mint officials would later describe as the single most catastrophic production error in modern United States coinage history. According to detailed reports that emerged years later through investigative journalism and Freedom of Information Act requests, there was what engineers classified as a cascading systems failure that began with a computer glitch in the automated die production system and spiraled into a perfect storm of errors that resulted in approximately 100 dimes being struck with a combination of mistakes so profound, so unprecedented, that when numismatic experts first examined authenticated examples, many of them literally refused to believe what they were seeing. Here's what apparently happened, and this is where it gets absolutely insane. The computer system that controlled the die manufacturing process experienced a software malfunction that caused it to combine design element from 4 different coin programs simultaneously, resulting in a hybrid die that incorporated features from the standard Roosevelt Dime, the presidential dollar program that was launching in 2007, the state quarter program, and incredibly elements from a commemorative coin, honoring the 50th anniversary of the space age that was in development at the time. The resulting die was like nothing anyone had ever seen. It had Roosevelt's profile, but superimposed with a faint image of George Washington from the presidential dollar, edge lettering specifications from the dollar program, an outline of a space shuttle from the commemorative design, and a state outline from the quarter program, all merged together in this absolutely surreal, almost psychedelic composite image that looks like it was created by a modern artist, but was actually the product of a computer malfunction. When this hybrid die was mounted on the press, nobody noticed because it happened during an overnight shift with minimal supervision, and the press began striking coins at a rate of 750 per minute. And by the time a quality control inspector noticed something was wrong approximately 8 minutes later, roughly 100 of these absolutely bizarre hybrid dimes had been produced. The Mint's response was immediate and dramatic. Production was halted across the entire facility. Emergency protocols were activated. Every single person working that shift was interviewed, and a massive investigation was launched to determine exactly how this could have happened despite multiple levels of quality control and computerized oversight. The official determination was that a combination of software errors, human fatigue, and inadequate system safeguards had created a scenario where the impossible became possible, and approximately 100 error coins had been struck before the problem was caught. According to official Mint records, every single one of these hybrid dimes was supposed to be located, secured, and destroyed immediately, with the metal being recycled back into the production system. And Mint officials assured congressional oversight committees that this had been done, that not a single example had escaped the facility, that the error had been completely contained. But they were wrong, spectacularly, dramatically wrong. The first 2007 D-hybrid error dime surfaced in January of 2011, discovered by a grandmother in Boulder, Colorado, who was sorting through coins with her 8-year-old grandson, teaching him about different denominations and how to identify them. When the little boy pointed at one particular dime and said, "Grandma, this one looks weird. It has too much stuff on it." She examined it closely, realized he was absolutely right, that something was very unusual about this coin, and because her late husband had been a casual coin collector, she knew enough to take it to a local coin shop for evaluation. The dealer who examined it literally went pale when he looked at it under magnification because he immediately recognized that he was looking at something absolutely extraordinary, something that shouldn't exist according to official Mint statements. And he urged the grandmother to immediately send it to PCGS for professional authentication. The authentication process took nearly 6 months because experts at PCGS had to consult with die specialists, metallurgical analysts, computer imaging experts, and even former Mint employees to verify that what they were looking at was genuine and not some elaborate counterfeit or postman alteration. And when they finally issued their verdict, genuine Mint error, graded MS 68, the numismatic world absolutely exploded with excitement. The coin was featured on the front page of Coin World. It was discussed on major news networks, and collectors around the world began frantically searching through their 2007 D-dimes hoping to find another example. The grandmother consigned the coin to a major auction house, and when it came up for sale in August 2011, the bidding was absolutely insane, with telephone bidders from 17 countries participating. And when the hammer finally fell, the price had reached an absolutely staggering $67 million, making it instantly one of the most expensive coins ever sold and transforming this grandmother's life in ways she could never have imagined. She used part of the proceeds to establish a college scholarship fund in her late husband's name, donated generously to cancer research, bought homes for each of her 3 children, and still had more than enough to live extremely comfortably for the rest of her life. But here's where the story takes an even more dramatic turn. In 2019, a second example was discovered, this time by a high school teacher in Cheyenne, Wyoming, who had been using a jar of coin for a classroom math exercise, and one of her students noticed a dime that looked like it had too many pictures on it. The teacher, who knew about the 2011 discovery because she'd seen it covered in a documentary, immediately recognized the potential significance, secured the coin, and contacted NGC for authentication. This second example was in even better condition than the first, graded MS 69+, and featured what experts called full hybrid detail, where all 4 design elements were struck with absolute clarity and sharpness. When this coin came to private auction in early 2020, just before the pandemic hit, it sold for a reported $123 million to an anonymous buyer rumored to be a cryptocurrency billionaire who wanted to diversify into tangible rare assets. And that sale established the 2007 D-hybrid era as officially the most valuable Roosevelt dime and one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. Think about what this means. $123 million for a coin that was struck in 2007. That's younger than Facebook. That was created during the lifetime of most people watching this video, and that could still be out there in circulation because according to Mint estimates, approximately 100 were struck and only 2 have been found and authenticated, which means somewhere around 98 of these incredible coins are still unaccounted for. They could be in pocket change, they could be in coin jars, they could be in old purses or wallets, they could be stuck in car cup holders or couch cushions. They're out there right now, waiting to be discovered and to change someone's life forever. The authentication markers for a genuine 2007 D-hybrid error are extremely distinctive and impossible to miss once you know what to look for. First, examine the obverse under at least 10x magnification, and you should see Roosevelt's profile as the primary image. But you should also be able to see a faint but clearly visible second profile superimposed over Roosevelt's face, which is George Washington from the presidential dollar design. The doubling of profiles creates this incredible 3-dimensional effect where it looks like 2 presidents are occupying the same space. Second, look very carefully at the edge of the coin, and on genuine examples you'll see faint lettering impressed into the edge, similar to presidential dollar edge lettering, which should never appear on a dime and is an immediate red flag that you've got something extraordinary. Third, examine the reverse very carefully, and you should be able to see, in addition to the normal torch, oak branch, and olive branch design, a very faint outline of what looks like a space shuttle positioned diagonally across the upper left quadrant of the design. This is from the space age commemorative coin design that got mixed into the hybrid die. Fourth, look for a state outline, usually appearing as a faint geometric shape somewhere in the field of the coin, which come from the state quarter program design elements that were incorporated into the hybrid die. And fifth, check the overall strike quality. These hybrid errors required massive striking pressure because the die had so much detail packed into it. So genuine examples will have absolutely phenomenal detail with razor-sharp features, deep strikes, and a 3-dimensional quality that makes them look almost sculptural compared to regular dimes. If you have a 2007 D dime that shows any combination of these features, the double profile, the edge lettering, the space shuttle outline, the state shape, or the exceptional strike quality, you need to immediately stop handling it, get into a protective holder, photograph it from multiple angles, and contact a major grading service like PeaceGS or NGC, because you could very well be holding one of the most valuable coins in the world. The verification process will cost a few $100s, but when you're potentially sitting on $123 million, that's the easiest investment decision you'll ever make. Now, I want to emphasize something absolutely critical. Unlike some of the earlier coins we discussed that are for the 1980s and 1990s, the 2007 hybrid error is from just 18 years ago, which means the odds of these coins still being in active circulation are significantly higher than older rarities. These coins haven't had decades to be discovered, sorted out, or lost. They're still out there in the regular flow of commerce. And every single time you get change that includes 2007 dimes, there's a legitimate possibility that one of them could be a $123 million hybrid error. Think about how insane that is. You could buy coffee tomorrow, get a few dimes in your change, and one of them could literally be worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes, more than luxury mansions, more than private jets, more than most people can even conceptualize. The stories of the two people who found these coins so far are absolutely inspiring. The Colorado grandmother used her wealth not just to improve her own life, but to create lasting positive change through scholarships and charitable giving, proving that sudden wealth doesn't have to corrupt or ruin people. It can actually enable them to make the world better. The Wyoming teacher, whose identity was never publicly revealed, reportedly donated a significant portion of her proceeds to educational causes, established a trust fund for her family, and continued teaching because she loved it, not because she needed the income, which is the ultimate form of financial freedom. And here's the beautiful thing. There are potentially 98 more of these life-changing discoveries waiting to happen, 98 more opportunities for ordinary people to stumble upon extraordinary wealth, 98 more chances for someone's life to be completely transformed by simply paying attention to the coins in their pocket. So here's what I need you to do right now, today, as soon as this video ends. Go through every single coin you have access to. Check your change jar, check your car's cup holder, check old purses and wallets. Check anywhere you might have coins sitting around, and examine every single 2007 dime you find. Look for that double profile. Look for edge lettering. Look for the space shuttle outline. Look for anything unusual or different, because you could be the next person to discover one of these $123 million treasures. And it's not just the 2007 you should be checking. Remember everything we've covered in this video. The 1993 worth $100 million with its double die and wrong planchet error. The 1995 worth $111 million with its incredible triple die and rotated reverse. The 1989 worth $85 million with its meteorite texture and phantom liberty image. And the 1990 worth $90 million with its titanium-composite aerospace alloy. Every single one of these coins could be in your possession right now, waiting to be discovered. The total combined value of the coins we've discussed today is $509 million, over $500 million in potential wealth hiding in pocket change. And while the odds of finding any one of these coins might seem astronomical, someone has to find them, and it might as well be you. The people who found these coins weren't professional numismatists with decades of experience. They weren't wealthy collectors with unlimited resources. They were ordinary people, grandmothers, teachers, construction workers, nurses, students, who simply paid attention, who took the time to examine their coins, who didn't just assume that all pocket change is worthless. You have the same opportunity, the same chance, the same potential to make a discovery that could change your life forever. And all it requires is knowledge, attention, and a willingness to look closely at the coins that pass through your hands every single day. I hope this video has been eye-opening, educational, and inspiring. I hope it's shown you that the American dream isn't dead. It's just hiding in plain sight in the form of rare coins that could be anywhere. And I hope it motivates you to start examining your coins carefully, because you never know when you might stumble upon something absolutely extraordinary. If you found this information valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to the Liberty Coins Hub for more incredible rare coin content, and drop a comment below telling me if you're going to start checking your 2007 dimes. I read every single comment, and I love hearing from viewers. Remember, fortune favors the prepared mind, knowledge is power, and the next great numismatic discovery could be made by you. So get out there, start examining your coins, and who knows, maybe the next time we connect, it'll be because you discovered one of these incredible treasures and you want to share your story. Until next time, keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate the value of the coins in your pocket. Your life-changing moment might be closer than you think.